The first story we're going to get into today is Sam Howell, and should the New York Jets bring him in as quarterback 2 behind Aaron Rodgers? This coming by way of Connor Hughes, beat reporter for the New York Jets. I love the idea of this, assuming he's available. The Commanders could easily keep him as a backup. It's not like this is a Sam Darnold, Justin Fields situation. If available, though, I'd prioritize him over anyone else. Howell proved this year he can play. There are flaws to his game, but none where the season is lost if he has the ability to play, or if he has to come in and play. He's also cheaper. Howell would have a cap hit under $1 million each of the next 2 years. That matters to Woody Johnson and the New York Jets. There are those in the Jets building who believe he can play too. Maybe 2 years learning behind Rodgers really unlocks his potential, and he ends up being Aaron Rodgers' replacement. He did throw for 3,946 yards and 21 touchdowns on a terrible Commanders team. The key will simply be compensation. The Jets should do this if all it takes is a pick on the third day of the draft. Howell is just as good of an insurance policy as Gardner Minshew or Jacoby Brissett. So it's interesting. It's a quarterback that I hadn't really considered just because he's so young, and I would have figured the Commanders would want to hold on to him anyway, but it's something worth exploring. Now, as far as his statistics go, he had, as Connor Hughes mentioned, nearly 4,000 yards this past season. He had 21 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. So pretty high upside when you compare it to, his other buddy, Zach Wilson, which we'll do in just a second here. As far as his contract goes, Connor Hughes does mention he'd be under $1 million each of the next 2 years. Pretty close to that. In total, will be just over $1 million for 2025, but splitting hairs there. Very cheap contract for a Jets team that has spent a lot of money and didn't go after a backup quarterback this past season due to financial restraints, whether that be draft compensation-wise or like actual money financial-wise. We know Aaron Rodgers did not have the insurance taken out on his contract by Woody Johnson, so Woody Johnson did not gain back the $20 million he could have had towards the end of, once he went down with the injury. Now, as far as his comparison, we're talking Zach Wilson, and how does he compare in terms of the backup play that we saw last year? Obviously, you could see the stats back and forth. Not super great, from our quarterback, number 2 overall pick. When you consider that Howell was a 5th-round pick, the difference is pretty jarring here. Now, as far as that goes, is he actually an upgrade over Zach Wilson? And would you want to bring him in a pressure situation where you need to possibly win? So this is under pressure, according to Michael Nania, the highest percentage of pressured dropbacks converted to sacks. Bryce Young, 24.5% of the time he dropped back under pressure, he was sacked. That was the worst in the NFL. Zach Wilson followed that up with a 24.3%, and Sam Howell right behind Zach Wilson at 23.5%. Now, as far as passer rating when throwing under pressure, Mac Jones led the way, then Bryce Young, then Sam Howell in third. Zach Wilson was actually better at throwing under pressure than Sam Howell. Now, maybe if you affix the offensive line, you're saying this is not that bad of an issue because clearly Howell has played better when there is no pressure than maybe Zach Wilson has played in his time here. I'm not so sure. That's not necessarily where I would want to go with backup quarterback. When I'm thinking backup quarterback for Aaron Rodgers, my immediate thought is I want someone to hold the ship down and be able to take us where we got to go in the event Rodgers goes down. And whether that's just win a game or 2 or 3 or whatever it is, I would like someone that's consistently won in this league, or at least, provides a high level floor. I feel like Howell's floor is pretty low. Not to mention, he did get pulled against the New York Jets in favor of Jacoby Brissett, which is honestly the player that I would prefer the Jets wind up bringing in. This is from DJ Reed, assuming, or he saw the retweet or quote tweet from Dov Kleinman, says, Brissett, cough, cough. Obviously, Brissett came in relief for Howell this past year. And when you look at the stats just between the two of them, 10 of 13, 100 yards, and 1 touchdown versus this Jets defense compared to 6 of 22 with 56 yards and 2 interceptions, I can understand why the defensive guys may want to go with someone like Jacoby Brissett. And that's where I fall. I would prefer Brissett to Howell in this instance. I think Brissett, you're probably not, I don't think you have to trade for him either. He's a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. And then with Howell, are you giving up, a 4th-round pick? I wouldn't go any higher than a 4th-round pick because I'm expecting that 3rd-round pick to at least be a significant portion or significant impact on this team for this year. So, man, I don't know. I would say I'd roll with the players here. Now, as far as trade compensation goes, you could see the Jets have first-round pick, third-round pick, fourth-round pick via Denver and the trade with Jacob Martin. Our own fourth-round pick. We don't have a fifth-round pick, and then we have a sixth-round pick. And then I think the Jets are supposed to have three seventh-round picks through comp picks is what Tankathon is projecting us to do. So when I'm looking at these draft picks, does it make sense for the Commanders to give up Howell? Well, it doesn't make sense for the Jets to give up the first or the third-round pick because you're hoping you're not going to have to use Howell at all next year. So use those two picks for advancing your objective for this season. Then you talk about a fourth-round pick. Fourth-round pick is where I think most Jet fans would have penciled in, backup quarterback, like a big swing for a quarterback, something like that in the draft, where you're hoping that maybe there's some high upside there, like a Jordan Travis, maybe a Pratt from Tulane, someone along those lines. For me, I feel like the Commanders, if they're going to get a fourth-round pick for Sam Howell, why would you trade him when you could potentially have him grooming Drake May, who was his roommate at UNC? I feel like he's more likely, Howell that is, to stay as a Commander, as a high-end backup for them than he is to get traded for a mid-round pick when they're just going to have to try and replace him anyway with, potentially a mid-round pick quarterback. Why roll the dice when you don't have to? So for me, I think I'm probably okay with Howell if we get him as a backup quarterback. I would prefer Brissett, but I don't know if he's necessarily a huge upgrade for the type of play we may want to see if Aaron Rodgers goes down. Now, ceiling-wise, he's got a really high ceiling. I do really like that. And hopefully Rodgers is playing 2 more years, and then you'd have to, I guess make a decision on Howell at that point because he's only got the 2 years left on his deal. Guys, let me know your thoughts of Sam Howell. Do you want the Jets to go after him as a backup option? Is there another player you prefer as a backup option? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for hitting the like and subscribe button on these videos. It goes a long way towards growing the channel. And then occasionally I get sponsors like this. So if you want to help support the sponsor of the channel or maybe just get yourself some cool gear or some good discounts, you can click the link in the description down below. Today's sponsor, 𝐶𝐟𝐼𝐥𝐬𝐚, is going to give you 25% off your order using promo code JetsTalk. Link in the description down below. They've got gummies, THC syrup, THC seltzers. I just discovered these things. They are incredible. As someone who has been trying to cut down a little bit of their alcohol consumption and not, maybe feel as crummy the next day, this has been a godsend for me. Keep me nice and calm, cool, and collected, especially with all the hurdles that our Jets throw our way and all the headaches that we got to deal with as fans. So if you guys want to help support the channel, maybe get yourself a little bit of a discount as well. Support the sponsors of the channel, 𝐀𝐟𝐼𝐥𝐬𝐚. Thank you so much for watching the show.